All right, we're going to talk about different modes of delivery and which one we concentrate on in here versus ones that others may use for other reasons. Do you have it going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. All right. So, manuscript. That may be something that if you've given speeches in the past, you're familiar with. Writing everything out word for word like an essay. And just writing your essay and then coming in and reading it. Right? That's what most people do for speeches. But that's for people who are familiar with giving speeches. Or for people who, in high school, that they just don't want to make it any more complicated for you, and it is easier to write it out word for word and read it. So a lot of high schools do it that way. It's more appropriate for press conferences where you have to get every word, and you can't mess up, so you have to read it. Televised addresses, very formal situations, like a speech where you're getting up to thank whoever for the Oscar, and you don't want to leave anybody out, so you write it down ahead of time. In this class, we will not use the manuscript mode, okay? We don't do that. Until the last speech, the commemorative speech, you will have a manuscript, but it will be broken up into parts, even though it's a manuscript. So it's a little bit of a modified manuscript, but I'll explain it when we get to it. Don't worry about it right now. The disadvantages of reading a manuscript to your audience is that there's no eye contact because you're right here reading it, and you're looking at this and not the audience. And it's a barrier between yourself and the audience. You have to be able to put the thing down and look at us. And an outline helps you with that, and I'll get to why that is. The speaker's voice often takes a monotone quality that is dull and boring when they read. When you read to us in a speech, it just turns into a monotone. It really does. It's not interesting if it's in monotone, no matter what you have to say. So, manuscripts are not what we do in here. Memorized. That's where you write it out, and then you commit it to memory, and then you recite it verbatim. This is okay if you're performing, because you need to memorize it, because you're probably going to move around a little bit. You have things you're going to do while you're speaking. People who give the same speech all the time, like at different conferences that they fly around the world or the country to give, they've memorized their speeches because they give the same one or two no matter where they're at. And it's become a performance for them. They go into performance mode. In here, we just aren't going to do it because it's too hard. Memorizing a whole 4 to 7 minute speech is really hard when you're not used to it. And I'm not going to ask you to do that. It's way too difficult. And then to deliver it flawlessly, forget it. I've had people try to memorize their speeches, and they're up here giving their speeches, and then they stop. And they're like, gosh. They have to catch up and remember where they were, and it creates this long pause, and it's awkward. And then what if you forget entirely and you just can't go on because you just forgot the whole rest of it and you don't know where you are? It's too hard. I'm not going to say memorize anything, all right? Also, unless you're really good at it, memorizing your speech can come across as canned, meaning it's just stale and it's just lifeless. It's not good. It's not interesting. So, not going to ask you to memorize. Impromptu. I talked a little bit about that already, just having to do a speech by the seat of your pants. That's when your speech is delivered with little to no preparation. And if time permits, you should jot down some notes or construct a real quick outline. If they're giving you 5 minutes, they're like, okay, we're going to ask you to speak. You're like, what? I have to speak? Yeah, you're up in like 5 minutes. Grab a paper and pen and think it through as quick as you can and make some notes. Because getting up with no idea what you're going to say you're going to say something wrong. It's going to come out wrong. You're going to use the wrong words. You're going to forget something. You're going to say too much about something. I don't want you to do that in this class. I want you to practice your speeches ahead of time. I want you to get your outline ready as soon as you can and start practicing over and over and over. There are some advantages to impromptu speaking. Usually you don't have time to get nervous. You're not sitting there long enough to work up nerves. You just jump up and start talking. Okay, and then you get nervous when it's over. You're like, oh my God, what did I say? Did I remember this? And it racks your nerves after it's over, but you don't really have nerves while you're doing it. Disadvantage, no time to prepare. You have to organize on the spot. And that is really difficult. So I don't want you doing that in here. Get your speeches ready, get your outline planned, and practice it just like this. The best mode of delivery that there is, in my opinion, extemporaneous. Learn that word. Extemporaneous. That is the kind of speech that we give in here. It's prepared and practiced. You use an outline. You make your outline ahead of time and you practice using your outline out loud. And you use your outline in your speech. It's there with you. And you can use it. And you can look down when you need to and take a breath and look back up and keep your eye contact and keep going. And it sounds more conversational. And it feels a little more spontaneous. It's not a lifeless monologue of monotone information or something that you're trying to bring in from memory. You have your notes in front of you, and it just feels fresher that way. It also allows you to deal with feedback. We didn't really get to talk about this because that was one of the first things that was dealt with this semester, so you had to read that and look at some of the online videos about that. But feedback is the message you get back from your audience as you're talking, like the expressions or the body language they share with you as they're sitting in their seats. Like right now, I'm getting feedback from everybody, right? I'm getting that. You may not even be aware that you're sending me feedback. You are sending me feedback. And I can tell through your eyes and what you're looking at and how you're resting, if you're paying attention or not. And what if you're giving your speech and you see your whole audience go, and they cock their head and they squint their eyes out, and you can tell, what? That's what's on their face. What? They don't gotta say what. You see it, right? Right? You can stop. You can look down to where you are and take another moment and add a little bit to what you've planned. Come at it from a different direction. Paraphrase. Make it clear. Adapt to the feedback that your audience is giving you. If they don't understand something, you have the opportunity to make it more understandable. That's it. It's more flexible when you use an outline. You can stop and concentrate on things that your audience needs and that you can tell they need because you're looking at their faces. And their faces are telling you they need it. You have your notes in front of you, but they're not a barrier like a manuscript. Your eye contact is more steady, and it sounds more conversational and spontaneous, and you're better able to deal with feedback due to the flexibility of this mode. That's all of that.